joy and relief in Israel and Gaza, but also trepidation about what comes next. Tonight, we're in Tel Aviv, where the reality of a peace deal for so long elusive is now sinking in.
We ended the war in Gaza and really, on a much bigger basis, created peace.
What we know about the ceasefire, the expected surge of aid into Gaza, and when the hostages might finally come home.
We've been really every week for 2 years asking for those hostages to come home.
Plus, we'll break down the difficult path ahead to turn this deal into a lasting peace.
The personal information of thousands of healthcare workers shared through the dark web.
You have to be truthful about this. We have to discontinue this activity of covering up.
The fifth state investigation into a massive data breach and the warnings about it that were ignored. A team that keeps on winning and the fans on the edge of their seats. Blue Jays fever goes to the next level.
From CBC News, this is The National with Asha Tomlinson and Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault in Tel Aviv.
Thanks for joining us here tonight in Tel Aviv. You can feel the full weight of a 2-year war lifting from the country and the region after Israel's cabinet formally accepted the first phase of a U.S.-sponsored peace deal. That approval clears the way for a ceasefire, the partial withdrawal of Israeli troops, and a swap of Palestinian prisoners for Israeli hostages held in Gaza. Even as the Israeli cabinet debated the agreement tonight, strikes in Gaza continued. But the momentum towards this moment was undeniable. The joy in both Gaza and Israel palpable. But as Margaret Evans shows us, amid that immense sense of relief in Gaza and in Israel, this is also a moment of raw and very mixed emotions.
In Tel Aviv, in Hostages Square, they're preparing for a homecoming, believing that the last of the Israeli hostages will indeed be released, and soon. Many here credit Donald Trump, not their own government, for that. But beyond the celebrations, emotions are layered. Rachel Goldberg, Poland's son, Hirsch, was killed by his Hamas captors in Gaza, along with 5 other hostages a year ago. She's learned to temper her emotions, she says.
We are missing our beloved children, who we will miss forever. And we're hopeful that maybe now we're at the beginning of where we can focus on the grief and the loss and the pain.
In Gaza, too, the emotions run deep. Celebrations on the street and the freedom to smile and cheer the emergency workers who've risked so much to save others. It's a happiness that's mixed with blood and sadness, said Akram Jarada in Deir al-Bala. We lost entire families, our children, neighbors, friends. Some are daring to hope that a ceasefire will hold and mean a permanent end to the war.
The war is over. After 2 years of hunger, destruction, and endless loss, Gaza is finally quiet.
Although Israel continued its airstrikes on targets on the Strip as final details were negotiated. More than 67,000 Palestinians have been killed since the war began, according to Gaza health officials, most of them civilians. Magdi Abu Ayada directs his anger at Hamas. Since May, they have been negotiating over the same thing, and in the end, the Israeli army got what it wants. He says they should have sacrificed themselves to end the war. Now, so many Gazans are left trying to imagine their own homecomings, back to places that no longer exist. The Israeli army shelling Gaza's coastal road at one point, apparently to stop people from trying to head north. Adrian, more airstrikes in Gaza, more Palestinians being killed there. Today, of all days, a reminder of just how fragile things are.
And clearly, Margaret, the Trump administration tried to really push this towards a finish line tonight.
That's right. We had both Donald Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, taking part in the Israeli cabinet meeting, clearly trying to keep the momentum up. Question a lot of people have, though, is how long the United States is going to sustain that pressure once they get beyond this critical next few days and start to deal with even thornier issues down the road.
All right, thanks, Margaret. That's Margaret Evans in Jerusalem. Despite the uncertainty ahead in Washington, the White House is already congratulating itself on a done deal. And Katie Simpson spoke to a former Trump administration official about how it came to this point in the first place.
Mr. President, the U.S. president settled into his cabinet meeting, ready to accept praise and congratulations to mark a moment he and his team had long worked toward.
None of it would have been possible without the President of the United States being involved.
It is a deal that Donald Trump expects to last. There is no hesitation in his sense of confidence.
We ended the war in Gaza and really, on a much bigger basis, created peace.
Trump found a way to energize peace talks by using his anger. After Israel targeted Hamas leaders in Qatar, an American ally, without warning.
I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled about it.
He ratcheted up pressure on the Israeli Prime Minister to accept a deal.
Is everyone on board?
All while American negotiators promised regional partners greater U.S. cooperation in exchange for help in getting Hamas to agree.
So I want to express my tremendous gratitude to the leaders of Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey for helping us reach this incredible day and for being there.
This breakthrough is being welcomed in Washington with rare bipartisan support.
The exciting prospect of this peace deal is monumental. And there are a lot of people who deserve credit for it if it happens. President Trump is among them.
Even Trump's fiercest critics are giving him some credit.
I think he's certainly persistent. He desperately wants that Nobel Peace Prize. It won't happen tomorrow for a lot of reasons. But if this process continues, he may have a better argument next year.
Trump wants to be known as a peacemaker, though he's long bucked the norms of diplomacy. His son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his real estate developer friend, Steve Witkoff, led the negotiations.
I would say all hell is going to break out.
And Trump relied on threats and harsh rhetoric in order to reach some goals.
So the question now is, will Donald Trump continue to apply that pressure to make sure that this is a durable ceasefire?
There is some skepticism about whether Trump's plan can hold in the long run, and questions about whether Trump is being too confident.
It would be overly optimistic to think that all the other steps will follow fairly easily. We've been at this stage several times before, and the ceasefires have broken down.
Trump is now finalizing his plans to visit the Middle East. He's been invited to speak to Israel's parliament, and he wants to take part in the peace deal signing ceremony.
And Katie, the U.S. is announcing, some new measures in the hopes this plan will stick.
The Americans are sending 200 troops to Israel to be part of a team that will monitor the ceasefire agreement, and they plan to use soldiers to set up a central command to ensure aid flows into Gaza.
All right. Thanks, Katie. That's Katie Simpson in Washington. Both sides are fully on board, but now comes implementation. Any deviation or delay could crack the fragile consensus around the plan. With this first phase, a lot of things start happening very quickly on a 72-hour clock. First, there's the withdrawal. Israel has at least 50,000 troops serving in and around Gaza. Now, many of them have to get moving. Gaza is about the size of the island of Montreal, about 75% of it under Israeli control. According to the Trump administration map, all but a tiny strip of land close to the coast. Those troops have to pull back to here, the so-called yellow line, leaving a bit more than half of the territory in Israeli hands. Next comes the swap. Hamas returns 48 hostages, 20 still believed to be alive, reunited with their families after an unthinkable ordeal. In exchange, Israel releases 1,700 detainees from Gaza, plus 250 Palestinians serving life sentences. It's not clear who will actually emerge from Israeli prisons, but Hamas has asked for some high-profile names. Finally, aid will be surged into famine-stricken Gaza. Since Israel broke the last ceasefire 6 months ago, an average of about 80 trucks of aid a day have made it into the Strip. Under phase one, that will jump to as many as 600 a day, a desperately needed lifeline for Gaza's 2 million residents. The deal is being praised in Ottawa, where one big question has to be, what role could Canada play? Ashley Burke got some hints as she gathered reaction on Parliament Hill.
After calling it a day for optimism, the Prime Minister welcoming the deal.
I would like to commend the leaders of Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, the architects of the plan, Mr. Kushner and Witkoff, and underscore, as I did to the President and to Mr. Kushner, Canada's full support in ensuring that all parties implement all phases of this plan.
That sentiment echoed by the opposition.
It is up to Hamas now to respect its side, hand over all of the hostages.
Hallelujah. Peace might be coming.
Now the focus, is there a role for Canada?
We are supporting with humanitarian aid. There's other mechanisms that we can do to support it.
The Foreign Affairs Minister says Canada is heavily involved in items in the peace plan and is acting as an interlocutor between Arab countries and the U.S.
Canada will be contributing in various ways. We have expertise in governance, in the delivery of humanitarian aid, being the third largest donor.
And there is talk of a multinational task force to retrieve remains of Israeli hostages and soldiers in Gaza.
We are part of the discussions.
Even if this deal ends the bloodshed, serious issues remain for Canada in Gaza and elsewhere.
They should keep the pressure on regarding the West Bank, where settler violence and expansion of settlements continues, de facto annexation.
Canada was among the countries that recently recognized a Palestinian state if certain conditions are met, angering Israel.
Canada has to turn around towards Israel and start working with Israel on the future.
The Foreign Affairs Minister says Canada is looking at if it could help with the governance of a Palestinian state, but says first the violence must end and hostages must be released. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
The impact of October the 7th and the past 2 years of the war in Gaza reverberate far beyond the Middle East. In Canada, there's cautious hope tonight in Jewish and Palestinian communities. Yasmin Renea now with those reactions.
At this Palestinian restaurant, a cautious sense of hope with word of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas.
I am so happy that the killing stopped and that the victims, the people who are being victimized in Gaza, can get some help and some aid.
And a sense of relief sweeping across Canada's Palestinian and Jewish communities.
We're all exhaling at the same time. I feel like I'm exhaling with millions of people around the world.
Maureen Lesham's cousin Romy Gonen was held hostage by Hamas for 15 months before being released in January. She hopes the remaining hostages will be freed.
The return of every single hostage is proof that the best parts of humanity still exist. You know, compassion is still there.
But with the first phase of U.S. President Donald Trump's peace deal within reach, the hope comes with trepidation. Several previous ceasefire deals have collapsed.
There's a real tendency to try to maybe downplay it or say that maybe something's still not going to work out.
The pain for diaspora communities is still raw. Tens of thousands of Palestinians have been killed in Gaza after Hamas killed about 1,200 Israelis in the October 7th attacks.
The people behind these atrocities and this a man-made humanitarian nightmare need to be held accountable.
Al-Zubaydi, like many Palestinians in Canada, still has loved ones in the region and wishes now for their safety long term.
What I wish for my family, I wish it for every Palestinian family.
For many in Canada, the last 2 years have been painful and divisive. Now there are hopes they can start to process what's happened and heal. Yasmin Renea, CBC News, Vancouver.
We'll, of course, have more from here in Tel Aviv later in the program, but for now, it's back to Asha in Toronto.
Thanks, Adrian. Here at home, victims of identity theft are demanding answers and believe their own employer may be to blame.
I haven't given my information out to anybody else.
The Fifth Estate investigates years of ignored warnings at BC Interior Health. As the Jays advance to the American League Championship Series, Canadian fans are racing to score home game seats.
My budget was $200 per ticket in the 500 level, and it was just gone.
The scramble for tickets and what comes next on the field. And later, we return to Tel Aviv with in-depth coverage of the Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal and the challenges ahead. We're back in 2. Breaking tonight, Canada Post is scaling back its strike action. Starting this Saturday, the union is ending its nationwide strike and moving to rotating strikes. In a statement, the union said the action would get mail and parcels moving. Postal workers walked off the job 2 weeks ago after the federal government announced significant changes to Canada Post, including ending door-to-door deliveries.
Longer. One day stronger.
Strike action in BC by public servants is into its 6th week, and the BC General Employees Union is upping the pressure. More than 25,000 provincial employees are on the picket lines, and now all workers of government-run liquor and cannabis stores are joining the fold. This strike is being felt across many sectors, from social services to the justice system to university campuses. Talks have been stalled since the end of September. New York Attorney General Letitia James has been criminally indicted by a U.S. federal grand jury. The charges are linked to a mortgage fraud investigation pushed by the Trump administration. James is the latest perceived target of the president's Justice Department. She led a civil fraud case against Donald Trump in 2023. Prosecutors allege James made false statements to a bank linked to mortgage loan applications in Virginia. A Fifth Estate investigation has revealed that senior officials at a BC health agency were warned for years about the potential consequences of a massive data breach that happened back in 2009. But those officials failed to act to protect their workers. Fifth Estate co-host Mark Kelly starts with some of the people who say they paid a heavy price for that inaction.
My name is Andrea Harris.
My name's David Lucas.
My name is Chandra Hauer.
These are the faces of BC's interior health data breach, all victims of identity theft. What happened to them may happen to you if it hasn't already.
My neighbor right down there, she found out just a week ago or so that she was the victim of identity theft.
Nurse Ashley Stone is one of many healthcare workers just in her neighborhood whose identity was used by cyber criminals to take out credit cards and run up whopping bills. She's convinced she knows where her imposters got her personal information.
In 2014, did you believe that the source of the information breach was your employer, Interior Health?
100%.
Why were you so convinced?
Because I haven't given my information out to anybody else.
But for more than a decade, Interior Health has denied responsibility for the breach. It's told employees there was no evidence of a mass breach, no evidence their personal information was for sale on the dark web. And then we got a break in our investigation. An anonymous source sent us a list with 28,000 names who all appear to be Interior Health employees. Names, birth dates, social insurance numbers. A list the source says he bought years ago through the dark web. This information has been sold and distributed to thousands of people over the past 5 to 6 years, the source told us. But Interior Health's decade of denials has left a long trail of victims, from Ashley Stone in 2014 to Andrea Harris, whose identity was stolen again just this summer. This former Ontario Privacy Commissioner says the BC government needs to launch an investigation into the breach.
This is why you have to go to the Minister of Health and the Premier. You have to be truthful about this. We have to discontinue this activity of covering up.
Interior Health declined our request for an on-camera interview, but in recent court filings, they say the source of the breach remains unknown, and they remain committed to protecting their employees' personal information.
And Mark, what will happen next for the victims?
Well, there is a proposed class action suit that's been filed. That could take years to work its way through the courts. In the meantime, what have victims told us? Well, they say a good place to start would be with an apology.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
And you can watch The Denial Machine right now on YouTube or Friday on CBC television at 9 p.m. The battle for Blue Jays tickets is heating up as their postseason run continues.
I haven't been able to snag tickets for the next series, but we'll see.
What's next for fans and players?
Plus, I'll be back from Tel Aviv, where frustration and hope are colliding in Hostages Square. We hear from families of hostages anxious for reunions and others demanding accountability for the last 2 years.
Tesla is under investigation by the U.S. government after at least 58 reports that its self-driving cars broke traffic laws. Those incidents include driving the wrong way and running red lights. Some incidents even caused injuries to passengers. About 2.9 million cars with the self-driving technology are included in this probe. A U.S. federal judge has thrown out a defamation suit filed by Canadian rapper Drake. He had sued Universal Music Group for releasing and promoting a track by his rival, Kendrick Lamar. The lyrics in the song imply without proof that Drake is a pedophile. The judge ruled the lyrics were an opinion and not defamatory. The Toronto Blue Jays are moving on in the Major League Baseball postseason, and fans are already all in. Tickets to the American League Championship Series were snapped up in moments this morning ahead of Game 1 Sunday. And as Shehan Desjardins shows us, the sellout happened before the team even knows who they're up against.
The 1-2 pitch. Got him! And the Blue Jays have done it.
The Toronto Blue Jays are on their way to the American League Championship Series. And the hunt is on for fans looking for a seat.
I was not in the secondary market, will not do it. I just went on Ticketmaster. Got the link, went on, stayed in the queue for a long time actually, but ticket showed up.
My boyfriend was also trying and didn't manage to get tickets. I felt a little bit bad, but yeah, I got them, so I get the bragging rights now.
Others weren't so lucky. Tickets went on sale Thursday morning. Thousands waited online, but the resale market is already causing prices to skyrocket.
It was already in my cart, but then it just disappeared for some reason, just the regular tickets. But I think the resale tickets are only available right now, so they're just going for crazy for the 500 level.
Guerrero shoots it down the right field line.
For the Jays, it's a complete 180 from last season.
And there it is!
And after beating one of baseball's most successful franchises, early skepticism about whether the team would even make the playoffs this year proven wrong.
From the perspective of all of the parts, the moving parts working together, definitely there's a little bit of magic in that right now.
And Canadians want in. ALCS Jays merch is a hot commodity. And tickets or not, fans are ready for this team to go all the way.
I was born in '93, so I've been waiting for this curse to be broken for many years.
The Jays will take on either the Detroit Tigers or the Seattle Mariners, both cities close to Canadian borders and both likely to draw significant cross-border support for the Toronto team. The Jays will be playing Game 1 here on Sunday with home field and country advantage. Shehan Desjardins, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's bring you back now to Tel Aviv and break down this breakthrough towards ending the war in Gaza. Overwhelming emotion in Tel Aviv's Hostages Square when word spread a peace deal was reached.
We've been really every week for 2 years asking for those hostages to come home.
And in Gaza, too, real relief at the prospect of a ceasefire and the realization that aid could soon flow freely.
The people of Gaza have been desperately waiting for this moment.
We'll show you the work already underway to get food and medicine into Gaza quickly. But first, I want to take you not far from where we are right now into Hostages Square. And while there is joy and deep hope there, you're also going to hear a lot of anger directed at Israel's Prime Minister. Hostages Square is all energy now. Typically a place for vigils and protest, at the moment, it feels like some are allowing themselves to dream. Always, though, there are reminders of the real nightmare. A replica of tunnels where the hostages have been kept, filled with people writing messages to the trapped and dead. It is crowded and chaotic, and to get caught up in that is to momentarily forget how horrifically personal it is. But these smiling faces have families. Nimrod Cohen's dad, Yehuda, away from the square today, waiting for his son in quiet.
Of course, I cannot open champagne while my son is still in the tunnels. There's a big void in terms of how are we going to get Nimrod, in what condition, what physical and what mental condition. This is a big open question.
Nimrod is one of 20 hostages thought to still be alive, men, some young soldiers. His moment of capture recorded by Hamas, a video his family have been urging people to look at to understand their hell and their rage.
And I'm still thinking of the big picture, meaning our state of Israel, what it's been gone through the last 2 years, how this heinous government of Netanyahu ruined every good thing in this country. Internally, the ongoing fighting, and externally, how Netanyahu managed to blacken the name of Israel all over the world.
The anger here is complicated. It's not just that the hostages have been gone for so long, but that they were taken in the first place. It was understood that Hamas was training for something. Why wasn't it taken more seriously? Spotters the night before alerted the authorities that something was up. Why weren't they listened to? And it took hours for the army to get to the Nova Music Festival. Why did that happen? There are so many questions here and very little, if any, accountability. The families have been asking for a commission of inquiry into what happened on October the 7th since practically October the 8th. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has always rejected it, saying, let's finish the job first. Now there's a deal, so bring on the truth, say the families. Over the next few days, watch these crowds build. Word is spreading fast that Donald Trump has been invited to address Hostages Square.
Thank you, Trump! Thank you, Trump!
If that proves true, it seems like he will be greeted like a hero. But what if Netanyahu joined him? What kind of reception do you think Netanyahu would get in this crowd?
A lot of booze.
A lot of booze.
A lot of booze, yeah.
This man is also a dad at the end of an agonizing wait. I don't think Netanyahu will show up. I don't think he has the nerve to come here, says Itzhak Horn. Both his sons, Yair and Eitan, were kidnapped together and largely held together. Yair was released in February, but cruelly only Yair. Look, his dad says, at Hamas's picture of his son Eitan's hell, at being left behind watching his big brother go free. That Eitan may be coming home in days is news his dad only learned this morning. I had 500 WhatsApp messages, he said. I didn't understand what was happening, and I came here because where else would I go? Where else, indeed? These families have needed Hostages Square, and their very best wish is in the next few days, they won't ever have to be here again. There are wishes, too, from families in Gaza that food and medicine will be much more easily accessible. The peace plan calls for the immediate flow of humanitarian assistance. Eli Glasner spoke with frontline aid workers about how quickly this can happen and the challenges ahead.
In a place where the landscape is rubble and ruin, where hunger and starvation remains a constant threat,
that whole thing has to stop.
President Trump sees better days on the horizon.
Gaza is going to be slowly redone. You have tremendous wealth in that part of the world.
Those on the ground, like Rachel Cummings, the humanitarian director of Save the Children, worry about the day-to-day.
The scale of devastation across the whole of Gaza is like nothing else. It's extraordinary.
In what hospitals remain, the doctors are too weary to rejoice, according to the executive director of Doctors Without Borders Canada, Sana Beg.
There's a sense of numbness that our colleagues in Gaza are speaking of today, quite honestly. They are numb today. They are exhausted. They are hungry. They've lost their own families.
After the ceasefire broke down in March, aid organizations with the UN have been helping families with the barest of supplies.
Our nutrition services, delivering clean water, etc., to people who are in desperate need. So this fight for survival, this existence that the people have in Gaza, that has not changed today.
According to the 20-point peace plan, once the ceasefire is signed, full aid will immediately be sent into the Gaza Strip and will proceed without interference from the two parties through the United Nations and its agencies. While there are reports suggesting once the peace agreement is signed, a minimum of 400 trucks carrying aid will continue for 5 days, while trucks sit idle on the ground in Gaza, nothing has been confirmed.
To be honest, I have no other information. There is nothing here. We're hopeful that once the deals are done and when the agreements are made, the humanitarian supplies will be able to flow into Gaza.
While the world looks ahead, the reality in emergency rooms is dire.
Our doctors with sweat dripping on the operation table because of a lack of fuel and electricity. Our medical professionals and non-medical professionals that make up MSF being hungry themselves because of the famine, having to donate their own blood because of a shortage of supply.
And then there's the monumental task of rebuilding.
A couple of days ago, I drove from where I am in Deir al-Balah to Khan Yunis along the coast road and also through the middle of Gaza. And every single building is damaged or destroyed. We know that 97% of schools in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed. The infrastructure, the level of devastation in infrastructure is extraordinary.
For the moment, the sense of hope is fragile, tempered by the memory of previous shattered ceasefires. But today, with the explosions receding, another sound has returned.
Throughout the day, we've heard, around the office where I am, there are hundreds of children. We live within a community, and we've heard children singing, dancing, playing, and we just hope that that can be sustained.
Now, one aspect of Trump's 20-point peace plan drawing the ire of critics is the inclusion of former British Prime Minister Tony Blair on the Board of Peace, tasked with overseeing Gaza's post-war governance. Ashley Fraser breaks down how Blair landed on Trump's radar and why some of his credentials make him a controversial pick.
So why is Trump talking about this guy?
Tony Blair, good man, very good man.
In the US president's 20-point peace plan for Gaza, you won't find many names in it, except for, yes, the former UK Prime Minister. So Trump has named Tony Blair to be part of Trump's Board of Peace. That's supposed to help oversee the governance of post-war Gaza. But what's his track record? Well, let's look back at Blair's past.
I believe that today, courage has triumphed.
After becoming British Prime Minister, Blair negotiated the Good Friday Agreement in 1998, which put an end to a 30-year conflict in Northern Ireland.
The Good Friday Agreement is the biggest and the best thing that I think most people in Britain would agree that Tony Blair did.
And the biographer I spoke to said this negotiation gave him the confidence to intervene in the Kosovo War, to remove Yugoslavian forces at the time.
He also succeeded in rallying NATO to stand up to Slobodan Milosevic, who was trying to expel the Kosovo Albanians from Kosovo.
Blair was very popular, but that all changed in 2003 with widespread criticism of his role in the Iraq War and former US President George W. Bush's war on terror.
The threat from Saddam Hussein and weapons of mass destruction, that threat is real.
That occupation and war, where many countries got involved, led to the deaths of around 200,000 Iraqi civilians.
Were it not for Iraq, he would probably be remembered with affection in quite large parts of Britain.
And a 2016 report found that the UK's involvement in the war was misjudged, and there was no evidence that suggested Iraq possessed weapons of mass destruction.
For all of this, I express sorrow, regret, and apology.
So that widespread unpopularity led to him resigning in 2007. But after that, Blair continued his work in the Middle East, and he was named Special Envoy for Peace for the Quartet. That's the UN, US, EU, and Russia. The goal of that group was to mediate an Israeli-Palestinian peace process. But Blair also set up several foundations at this time. One of them, the Tony Blair Faith Foundation. Its goal was to prevent religious conflict and extremism. And this would later become the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. He also set up Tony Blair Associates.
Tony Blair was running his own international consultancy, for which he was making a lot of money.
So when it came to his work with the quartet, this biographer says all this private business and consulting made things complicated.
Nobody really knew which Tony Blair they were talking to. Were they talking to Tony Blair, the quartet emissary? Were they talking to Tony Blair, the international consultant.
Josh Paul worked for the US Security Coordination for the Palestinian Territories in 2008.
Blair was spearheading an economic initiative on the theory that if you could just get the economy working, then the politics would fall into place. It's actually the other way around. If you cannot persuade Israel to lift its checkpoints, to allow for the free flow of trade and people, there is no way to get the economics off the ground. Yet Blair was so wedded to this approach that he was essentially blind to those realities, and the project failed.
There was also widespread criticism from Palestinian leadership for Blair's role in the quartet. Some said he didn't spend enough time in Gaza and that he did little to help the Palestinian economy. Blair went on to focus on what I mentioned earlier, the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change.
He is extremely well connected, especially with a lot of the Gulf states, who are crucial to achieving anything in the Middle East.
But it's Blair's connections that have also drawn criticism, including Trump's son-in-law.
Kushner, of course, has for over a year now been advancing his own vision of a real estate development in Gaza and has very close ties with the government of Israel.
And Paul says because the plan doesn't involve any consultation with Palestinians, it echoes Tony Blair's track record in the quartet.
What we see in the 20-point plan is, again, a very Blairite economics-first approach that fails to address the underlying political issues.
Coming up, Israel jailed him for terrorism, but to Palestinians, he's a freedom fighter and a political prisoner.
Marwan Barghouti is the most popular Palestinian leader today. The most popular. There is nobody who is close to him.
Hamas has demanded his release, but Israel has strongly resisted, why some claim Marwan Barghouti could play a role in securing long-term peace. Next. Branded a terrorist by Israel and imprisoned for more than 2 decades, some claim Marwan Barghouti, the popular Palestinian leader, is the key to lasting peace.
He's someone who still believes in the tiny chance that's left for the two-state solution.
Israel says for now, Barghouti won't be released, but there will be pressure to free him. So who is Marwan Barghouti? Senior international correspondent Margaret Evans explains his unifying appeal for Palestinians and why Israel would be so reluctant to let him go.
Etched on concrete walls, Marwan Barghouti's face is one of the first things you see crossing the main Israeli checkpoint between Jerusalem and Ramallah. The image is coated with the smoke and tear gas of countless demonstrations against the Israeli occupation. But his name hasn't faded. Despite more than 2 decades in an Israeli jail, Barghouti remains the most popular Palestinian leader there is. But expectations that his name might appear on the list of Palestinian prisoners being exchanged for Israeli hostages have been consistently disappointed. We spoke with his son Arab a year and a half ago.
I'm very confident and very positive that my father will be released.
But 2 months ago, the far-right Israeli minister Itamar Ben-Gvir posted this video of himself taunting Barghouti, the first images of the jailed Palestinian in a decade. Even though Barghouti is associated with the rival Fatah faction heading the Palestinian Authority, Hamas has repeatedly put Barghouti's name on its lists. Arab says it's testimony to his father's unifying appeal and why Israel would be wise to release him.
If any Israeli leader really wants an end for this and peace for the region on the long term, they would see that my father is someone that would bring that. He's someone who still believes in the tiny chance that's left for the two-state solution.
It would be a hard ask for Israelis who see him as a terrorist with blood on his hands, charged with ordering a series of killings and suicide bombings in the Second Intifada, eventually sentenced to 5 life terms in 2004.
Everybody in this world knows that Marwan Barghouti is fighting for peace. I'm a peace man.
Barghouti denied the allegations against him, saying he doesn't condone attacks against civilians, but he's never renounced violence as a means of resisting the occupation. In the 1990s, he was an important proponent of the Oslo peace process, setting out a path to a two-state solution. It was backed by then-Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. But a Palestinian state never arrived. Those who know him say it led to disillusionment.
He was involved in giving awful orders. He changed his mind because he thought maybe we are not going for peace and we need to do something which will be a kind of an earthquake, which was the second Intifada in 2000. It was a huge mistake on his side.
Yossi Beilin is one of Oslo's Israeli architects. He still believes Barghouti offers Israelis and Palestinians a chance at coexistence.
Marwan Barghouti is the most popular Palestinian leader today. The most popular. There is nobody who is close to him. And it will be a mistake on the side of Israel not to release him.
Not only him, but all other political leaders like Ahmad Saadat and others. These are political leaders. They're not terrorists. They're freedom fighters.
Mustafa Barghouti, a distant cousin of Marwan and an experienced Palestinian politician, cautions against any tendency to seek lone saviors.
We need unified leadership. Marwan can play a very important role in pushing in that direction. And then we need democratic elections,
which there haven't been in nearly 20 years. It is perhaps not insignificant that the Free Barghouti campaign offices sit opposite the PA headquarters in Ramallah. But Arab says he thinks more of his longing as a son.
If it was for me, I would be selfish and I would tell you that I want him all for me and for my family. I think that it's not fair that my father has never met any of his grandchildren.
But he also believes his father has an important role to play in helping the Palestinian people achieve their freedom.
My father is, a unifying figure for the Palestinian people, and this is his main strength and why the people still love him and still believe in him.
And Margaret, we know Israel says Barghouti won't be released for now. Can we talk about why Palestinians were counting on him getting out?
Well, he really is, a symbol of hope for Palestinians, a symbol of potential leadership. People like to think of him as potentially becoming the next Palestinian president. But he's also been out of the picture for a long time. And so he's also at the same time presenting an image of absent Palestinian leadership. And I think that is really feeding into the way that many Palestinians feel these days about their own lack of participation in what's happening in the days ahead in Gaza and what's been happening in the occupied territories, the West Bank. So, he's come to mean many things to many people, but a release would certainly buoy Palestinian spirits.
All right. Listen, thanks for this. That's Margaret Evans in Jerusalem. That's all from here in Tel Aviv. Now it's back to Asha in Toronto.
Thanks, Adrian. Coming up, a Seattle Mariners fan makes the perfect catch.
And I reached down and got it. I caught his home run.
How his homemade shirt became a reality in our moment. Okay, this is the moment a Seattle Mariners fan caught his favorite player's home run. It was Cal Raleigh's 61st, if you count both regular season and playoffs. And he did it while wearing a Dump 61 Here shirt. Jameson Turner was the very lucky fan and even got to meet Raleigh after the game. Tonight, his catch is our moment.
Deep left field and gone.
It's a shot in the dark, Didn't expect it to really happen. When he hit that ball, I'm like, wow, this is coming kind of towards me. It bounced in the bullpen, and I reached down and got it. I caught his home run.
He literally has a shirt that says dump here.
The guys in the bullpen couldn't believe it either. Just too good to be true. I made a backup jersey with a 62 on it just in case. I didn't assume it would be me that caught 61. Where I chose to sit was not a good spot for him to hit a home run. Just the miracle happened. He hit it in a spot he should have never hit it. The Mariners guys came and found me, took me down to meet Cal. I asked him if he wanted the ball, and he said, no, you keep it. In fact, I'm going to get you a bat and sign that. And he told me to make sure I came back for the next game so he can hit me another one. The Mariners gave me tickets to the game the next day. It was just a shock. I just can't believe it came through.
And the luck just doesn't stop. Get this, he took a friend to the second game, and she caught a foul ball from, you guessed it, Cal Raleigh, while sitting right next to Jameson. Now, what are the odds of that? From all of us here at The National, thank you for being with us. I'm Asha Tomlinson. Good night.